Okay, good morning. Hello and welcome everybody to our first recorded interview session that focuses mainly on the global automotive industry and its international supply chains. The format includes a topic-related short interview session with a focus on pre-selected topical issues. Today's edition will predominantly deal with the effects of the current COVID-19 crisis, obviously, and on the developments of new technologies like electrification, connectivity, autonomy, and mobility as a service in the automotive space. In addition, we will address the challenge of the market engagement in general in the times of COVID-19 and speak about the digital equivalence of exhibitions and opportunities to replace the physical business meetings that we're used to. I'm happy to have Robert Metzger with me today. Robert is the CEO and publisher of the portal eMove 360, a medium that covers the whole area of Mobility 4.0. Robert, welcome. Good morning to you as well. Can I ask you before we start with the topical questions to say a few words about yourself and your work that you do?
Yeah, good morning, Jens. Thank you very much, first of all, for the opportunity to talk to you today. Yes, I'm the CEO and publisher of eMove 360. eMove 360 is our brand for new mobility, for Mobility 4.0, electric, connected, autonomous. We do a lot of things under the brand of eMove 360. First of all, of course, we do trade shows, especially the trade show eMove 360 Europe, hopefully 2020 this year in October, and as a real show, but we talk about that later on. Then also we do have the online portal under www.emove360.com, where we have a newsletter, we do a magazine, we do an award and all that stuff. Our main focus is how to bring together the people to help them making more business in the future. So that's our target.
Perfect. Thanks for the introduction, and of course we will speak about the offer, your activities in the exhibition space, and your work in the publishing sector later on. So to kick off with a topic that I have raised already initially, Robert, the automotive industry is facing an unprecedented situation at the moment, and there are numerous uncertainties out there that we are experiencing. When we speak about new technologies, and I just drop a few buzzwords like electrification, connectivity, autonomy, and mobility services, which technologies and developments areas could be most affected, in your opinion, due to the current situation? Are there any areas that could be pushed forward faster or slower as a result of the crisis, do you think?
Yeah, I think that the crisis will affect all parts of the mobility sector. Especially the classic automotive sector will be very much affected, but also aerospace, the use of trucks and so on, that will affect all parts of the mobility. And I'm actually not so sure how will it affect electrification, connectivity, autonomy compared to the normal cars and vehicles. The fossil cars driven by combustion engines. I'm not sure how much the industry is already threatened by the crisis or already down by the crisis. We will see this within the next months, how much impact the crisis took to the industry. What I think, there might be even a chance for the automotive industry, because at the moment there was a big trend towards public transportation and all that stuff. and I think maybe the people rethink having their own vehicle in the future, being free, having the freedom to drive where they want, and not being fixed on public transportation. So maybe we will have um, a race in the into smaller individual vehicles, e-bikes, e-transportation bikes, or smaller lightweight electric vehicles for the cities, and of course electric vehicles for the countryside also. So maybe it's a chance for new mobility to raise in comparison to classic combustion engines.
Yeah, very interesting. So I think we both agree that in these times and maybe over the next months or even years, the money, the cash flow of the automotive companies in all kind of areas is challenged due to the current situation. So the development of new technologies might be a bit slower. Then I might need to focus on more core technologies. But in the longer term, you think that could kick off the shift towards new services and the importance of if I understood you right, the importance of having your own car and having your own vehicle for transportation grows in importance, right?
Yeah, that's my opinion. I think so. We see a lot of new kind of vehicles coming up, and that might be the future.
Okay. So your medium eMove 360 has a strong focus also on electromobility, and the electromobility is discussed heavily these days as well as other sectors or subsectors. What influence could this crisis and maybe also related regulatory advancements that happen in times of crisis have on the developments of especially electromobility and their related sectors?
Yeah, it's very similar to the other question before. There's one point which is very interesting at the moment. All the fuel prices are falling down. Maybe they're coming up very rapidly in the future when the crisis is over. And I think now the crisis starts to be finished. Everything is opening up again, and I think the politicians also see that it's very dangerous if they keep the shutdown. Of course, it's also dangerous to die due to COVID-19, but maybe the impact is more heavy if we keep everything shut down in the future. And I'm not so sure if, first of all, classic combustion engine cars will come up more quick than electric cars. On the long run, there's no doubt we will just go forward to the electrification of the mobility. It starts with smaller vehicles. Nearly most of the bikes are now electric bikes. It continues with electric cars. As we see more and more models of electric vehicles. Next month, Volkswagen starts the ID3, the sales for ID3, and so we see more and more electric cars coming up. And on the long run, we have to get rid of all the fossil engines, all the fossil energy. So the next step will also be to electrify buses and trucks, and maybe even in the future ships and aeroplanes. I guess there on the where for vehicles who are for long distances, like trucks or like ships or aeroplanes, we will also see fuel cell driven electric vehicles. For me, there's no big difference. It's always a battery driven electric vehicle, and if it comes to long distances, you put on a range extender called fuel cell. That's the only difference. Both battery electric vehicles and fuel cell electric vehicles are electric vehicles, and I think it will. The trend will be to fuel cell electric vehicles for long distances and in the air, and you will for private cars and for electric bikes and so on. You will see battery electric vehicles only. And yeah, that's the trend for the next futures in electric mobility. And yeah, I think hopefully the COVID-19 crisis doesn't change anything, and it will help to bring up new mobility, will bring up electric mobility in the future.
Yeah. I agree. I think we're on a pathway there, and we have been for several years, and the plan was to push this forward. Obviously, the push forward for electric mobility, as well as other new technologies, is quite cost-intensive development that is related to the car itself, so to the engines and everything related, but also, for example, the energy sector that is related to it. So the cost-intensive development phase where we found ourselves in over the last years, do you think that can continue like it was before, or will that be hindered by the current crisis as companies like the OEMs and tiers that develop these technologies face a lot of cash flow issues at the moment? Do you feel that this will be pushed out by a few years, or that especially in the electromobility phase, the development will continue as planned?
Actually, of course, at the beginning, to develop a new product, a new technology like now electric cars, electric vehicles, new batteries, and so on, yeah, takes a lot of development costs. But on the long run, an electric car is much cheaper than a combustion engine car. To produce, to maintain, that's all much cheaper than a normal combustion engine car. I see this, I'm driving a Tesla, and I do not have any costs. I just have my electricity and energy. I do not need that much maintenance, and yeah, it's at the end, on the long run, these cars are much cheaper than combustion engine cars. So, and for the industry, when they solve the first development problems and when they have electric cars with yeah, a range of 600, 700 or even 1,000 kilometers with one battery load, then when they solved all these problems, I think then it will be much more efficient for all sides, for the car producers and for the users. So it will be more efficient and yeah, on the long run, much better.
Okay. Okay, so you see that, or could foresee that the companies, even the cash flow is an issue at the moment. They would do the investments needed, even if it's more than expected, and they maybe sell less cars than expected. They take the risk and invest into the electromobility to drive this forward, to have a more sustainable system afterwards, and also to offer cheaper, as you said, you drive your Tesla, it's cheaper in the maintenance. To drive a cheaper car than to be more economically oriented.
I think they have to. If they are not going into the electric mobility and push the development in that sector, all companies who are not doing this, they will be out. They will be out in the future. They first of all, of course, due to Tesla, but also due to other new car producers from China and other areas around the world. If the car producers stick to combustion engine, they will be out. They will not have a chance to sustain in the future.
Okay. So I think we can summarize your answer as this development in the electromobility will continue because they need to, and it is more sustainable to develop. Even they need to take more costs at the moment. So from your perspective, it's a continuous development in this space, and companies will keep on going with the development of the technologies and the related supply chains, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's one important point, that's the emotional point. If you have once started to drive an electric car, you will never go back to a old-fashioned combustion car, because it's much more fun to drive electric. It's more speedy. It's more relaxed. It's more quiet, and and the kick at the traffic light is enormous.
Yeah, I drove.
And
I once drove
that's the most important reason why people will move to electric cars. At the moment, they still think these small cars and they cannot drive so far and so on. But if they once tested it, then they will see it's much more fun, and they will get used to it. You never need to go to the gasoline station. You charge mostly at home or at your work site, and for long distance drive, every 300 to 400 kilometers. So every 2 to 3 hours, you take a break for half an hour. That's fine. That's a very relaxed traveling. I was traveling down to South Italy. I was traveling to Paris, and it's very relaxed and very nice to travel long distances with electric cars. So, and the emotional thing will bring forward electric mobility. Of course, also the sustainability, but